The Big Show, AWG, ABG3P, Tuesday Rex. So get your salt grain checks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What's up there, bud? Answers by guess. I'm switching sides.
I'm over here now.
Oh, yeah. What's up there, guess?
Hey.
Rob on a Tuesday? What the?
One of my most exciting times of the year, Rob, is when you join me in midweek, right before Thanksgiving every year. And we're here. This is the Big Show, the one and only, likely for the season. And we're going to do answers with guests, halftime adjustments, and then we're going to get into the ABG3P. And if you didn't catch the intro, if you've been with us long enough, you know recommendation on Tuesday only goes so far. So with the Tuesday rec, you got to get your salt grain checks because a lot of things are going to change as the week goes on. Like I just found out Luke Musgrave was in the hospital. Interesting.
You told me that right before we got on. I said, oh, crap. I didn't know that either. So, dude, I don't know. A lot of injuries still, man. Like throughout the year, I feel like this year has been just – I think we said it last year too, but this I think has like doubled, I feel like. Let's get into the normal spiel here. Remember to always like us on Facebook, subscribe on to YouTube, go on TikTok, Patreon, and podcasting on Spotify. Always look for those hashtags, answers by guests, ABGFF and ABG3P. Merch is out there, peeps. $25 for a t-shirt, $45 for a hoodie. That shit. With the Thanksgiving, no bye weeks. What's up?
And that reminds me, after I get done with the AWG, I'm going to click something real quick because we have to give away a t-shirt because one of the ABG League members, Landon, purchased a t-shirt to random off to the other managers in the league. So we won't be included. It's not us. So it's basically 11 guys. We're going to have a chance to get a t-shirt on Landon. So thank you, Landon. And I hope whoever wins appreciates it, takes a picture while rocking it.
Definitely make sure you do. Post it, hashtag it. We appreciate every single one of y'all. Like you said, we're going to go into the answers with guests. Halftime adjustments. I am excited for this because I haven't been a part of this in a little while. So let's see what you got to say about week 11.
All right. Well, week 11. It's an interesting week. Some good things, some bad things. And a lot of things that have been 2023. ABG3P, we were 17-9. Very solid, 17-9. It's right around 65% or so, and that's profitable. That's profitable. We like to be good. We like to be better. That was good. So hopefully next week we're better. First things first, points. They're way down. It's all year. I mean, and I'm talking about NFL scoring, the games. And us as a fantasy community, we suffer a little bit because of that. It's interesting, though, because it's not always everybody. And all you have to do is look at the matchups, Rob, and everybody else. And like a lot of times you'll look at your matchup and be like, I scored, 140 points, whatever. And you're playing against another guy and he got 142. And you're like, what the heck? And then you go and you look at the league matchups. People are scoring 97, 84, 101. You're like, why couldn't I played one of those guys? So a lot of times you lose track because you're focused on you and your matchup. But if you look at everybody overall, scoring has been way down. And just look at the scores from last week's games, way down.
I saw that meme.
This is where you are, more than likely. If you're not at the top, you're there. But notice that you're not dead. You're still holding on by a thread, right? This is heading into week 12 now, and this is the last week of chapter 3 of the season. The 4th chapter will be those final 5 weeks. So that shirt's going to snap. This is the week that matters most. Yes, next week will also matter, even more so if you win this one. But this is do or die time, right? You're either
Oh, yeah.
going to tackle that mofo or you're going to be left watching everybody else score. Tommy DeVito, you did it. You did it. If you watched ABG3P last week, I said put Jacob Eason in because he'll have a great game against Washington. Well, Tommy DeVito had that great game. It was easy to see. I didn't think he could do it, but man, I'm proud of Tommy DeVito. And there he is looking his best. That is the best Tommy DeVito ever looked. Kudos to him. Very nice game. So,
real quick, I just want to say, dude, they call him Tommy Cutlet. That is such a freaking great name.
It is.
I love
Perfect
it.
Name. Perfect. Thank you to the Browns and Steelers for taking us back 70 years to the 1950s. If it wasn't for Jaylen Warren and his breakaway speed and his busting through tackles, that game didn't have much to offer. Now, we like Dorian Thompson, Robinson Thompson, whatever, from the preseason. He was electric. And if you're in the card game, his cards were starting to sell, and we knew he wouldn't be the starter. He finally got a chance. He looked good. Didn't look great. But one good thing did come out of this. Pittsburgh fired their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada. And I think that's a good thing. Buffalo did the same thing. And I don't know if it really helped Buffalo. I don't know if that was the right move. I didn't know if they had to do that. But I think Pittsburgh had to do that. Somebody else has to do that. And we'll talk about that as we get going.
Jets fan over here. That's what needs to happen, bro. But they can't. They're handcuffed. But you get into that later.
Yeah. Anybody catch this?
Dude, I've watched that
almost
300 times.
So smart. And I posted something in Answers by Guests earlier in the season, a couple weeks ago, just basically about like, why is a spike not intentional grounding? Because you didn't throw it anywhere near an eligible receiver. And somebody chimed in and was like, I think in the rules, it's sort of like you have to be under some sort of pressure type of thing. So I was like, well, I would just blitz the hell out of them when I knew that they were going to spike the ball. This is an even better idea. They're going to spike it, dive between the legs and try and intercept it. He was so close. I guess I was reading something or I was listening to something. He saw someone in high school do it successfully last week or 2 weeks ago or something and said, I could do that. And he almost did it.
Idea, man.
I hope he tries again because I hope other people try this, because how amazing would it be? Teams trying to go down, they're clocking it, and somebody just runs underneath and intercepts it. Game over. Unbelievable.
Game changer.
I'm excited for that in the future. Number 10. The injuries do not stop. You can see him there, Mr. Foreman, Mr. Kenneth Walker, Aaron Jones, Kupp. Just talked about Musgrave. It's every year. I understand that. It just feels worse this year. And I think the reason it feels worse is because of what I said from the jump. Points are down. And we need the points from the guys that we have. And when they're getting hurt, it's annoying. Here it is. And you can't read it all because we got our thing there. We don't have to move it. But, yeah, Zach was not good, but he's still not the main issue. We'll elaborate further on this as we get down this list. He's still not the main issue. He's not. And Rob knows where I'm going with this. You all might know where I'm going with this. But they won't fix that issue because of Aaron Rodgers. But they need to. They need to. So they're on to now Tim Boyle. You telling me you think he's going to be better than Zach? Come on. I don't know. I don't think so.
Bro, his college TD to interception ratio, 1 touchdown to 13 interceptions.
Tim Boyle.
Enjoy.
Hang on. because this is just the beginning. Hang on. This is 2023. What a roller coaster. Some of these matchups last week, for me personally, if I'm just putting in a capsule a week, I mean, the season has been a roller coaster in itself, and that's what I meant here. But what a roller coaster this past week was. I thought for sure I was going to lose to Rob in our most important league. I was up by like 20 points. He had Jordan Addison and A.J. Brown left. Somehow I pulled it out. That's not real. That's not real. I won the game. I didn't deserve to. Now, yeah, I had Aaron Jones get hurt in the game. Deontay Johnson was playing in 1954. But I didn't deserve to win that game. And then in the ABG League, I lost by 0.1.
That was rough, man.
1 yard.
Stat correction.
Yeah. It actually had a stat correction. I was up by an extra point, and before the Monday night game, I lost a point.
Ooh.
So I should have won by 0.9, but I lost by 0.1. And I thought for sure I had that one in the bag. Every week's a roller coaster. Hang on. Don't give up. Number 7, Jordan Bortles does it again. Fantasy superhero. People are going to start to jump on this train. The last time I was on Answers with Guests was 2 weeks ago because I was dead to the world last week. And I said, meh, because he had a good game, week 9, or whatever it was. Week 9. This was the best I've seen him play. So I'll give Jordan Bortles that. But he was going against the Chargers. They're the worst defense. They give up so much. And now with Bosa hurt, it might be even worse. Let's see how he does on Thanksgiving against Detroit. Number 6, they are so annoying. So annoying. That game went exactly how I thought it was going to go. I thought Jacksonville would come back strong. The only thing it didn't go how I wanted to go, I thought Tennessee would have to throw the ball because you can throw all over Jacksonville. Somehow they hardly ever had the ball. I think Will Levis was 13 of 17. Wound up with 2 touchdowns. But people are counting on Chigakonkwo. I was counting on Kyle Phillips. Hopkins got lucky to get the one he got. Henry did nothing. Tajay Spears did nothing. They're just an annoying team. When they're on the road, they're absolutely terrible. If you're a betting person, just make a note of that. And whoever they're playing on the road, just take the other team. Raiders showed something. They kept that game within a touchdown the whole time, had a chance to win it. If it wasn't for Tyreek Hill basically scoring a touchdown when he was quadruple covered, 5 guys surrounding him and blazed past him, Vegas probably wins that game. And we're talking about something completely different this week. They're buying into the player's coach, Antonio Pierce. Aiden O'Connell's showing some life. Let's pay attention to them going forward. Michael Mayer. I know they have a bye week 13, but if you're an Andrews owner, he's somebody I'm looking at. O'Connell likes him a lot more than he likes Jacoby Myers. So the Myers stock is going down. I think the Mayer stock is going up. Where's your buddy, Kyler? Where's your buddy? We talked about it on ABG3P. Went to college with Hollywood. You haven't thrown him the damn ball in 2 games. People were Marquise Brown are hoping for a huge bounce back. Haven't gotten it. Kyler's been throwing to everybody but him. And he's been doing well. Kyler's been playing very well. But where's your buddy? Wilson, right there, number 14 on the left. He wasn't even playing. You're throwing it to Dortch. Use Hollywood. Where's your buddy? He's back. He's back. He loves to kill those Lions. He plays Minnesota on Monday night this week. DJ Moore was a big play for me. I was pumping him up last week, telling people to play him when they asked about him. Did fairly well. And, Deontay Foreman out. Will we see Roschon, Khalil Herbert, Khalil Herbert another week back. So I think we're back to where we were in the beginning of the season with this team. And if Fields keeps playing like this, there's going to be some fantasy goodness coming out. So that should be a good Monday night game. Hopefully they don't flex that one out, because now they can flex Monday night games.
Oh, really?
Hopefully they keep the Bears and the Vikings.
Division game, you would hope so.
Dallas is starting to look the part, but I feel like this happens every year, right around this time.
The same thing, man.
Right around this time. Thanksgiving, right around this time. They'll win on Thanksgiving. The world will be eating their turkey legs, thinking about how great Dallas is, and something will happen in the middle of December where it falls apart. I'm not a Dallas fan. I'm more anti-Dallas, but I don't hate them like I used to. I hope it doesn't happen because I'd like to see them compete a little bit in the NFC. But I just got a feeling they're starting to look the part, and I feel like this happens every year with Dallas. So we'll see. And here's what I'm talking about. What a difference no Hackett makes. The Jets are suffering because of Nathaniel Hackett. It's plain and simple. Now, granted, they have, let's say, worse playmakers than the Broncos, but Garrett Wilson and Cortland Sutton are at worst equal. Breece Hall's probably better than Javonte because Javante's still not 100% back from his knee. What else is there? Jerry Jeudy is I don't want to use the word because it was somebody else calling it, but he's a Jag this year. That's about it. That's about it. Who's got a better defense? The Jets have a better defense. But Nathaniel Hackett leaves Denver, and Denver becomes an offensive, usable machine.
Definitely scored more than 16 points, man.
Telling you he's the problem. I know David Sintra, I see your comment. Zach will and always be the main issue. I don't think so. Yes, he was not good. Yes, he holds the ball too long, but their line is terrible. Yes, he falls over when the wind hits 8 miles per hour.
That was great.
It's ridiculous. But if they had a better offensive coordinator from the jump, they would be better off. The offense would not look how it was. And the proof is in the pudding with the Denver Broncos. And I'm rooting for this team. I love what Denver's doing. I'm so glad they pulled that off. I think that Sunday night game was the game of the week. I loved how it ended. 5 field goals, and then they finally get into the touchdown. What a catch by Cortland Sutton. That's 2 weeks in a row. Killing it. 5 guys for your eyes. Number 5, Chase Brown coming off of IR. With no Joe Burrow. Teams are going to be stacking the box, which they're going to want to take a little off of Joe Mixon's plate. And I think Chase Brown, the rookie, coming back, I think he was maybe a Rob bonus, but I had to throw him on here to remind people I broke my own rule.
It's all right.
Because
I honestly forgot he was a Rob bonus.
Right. People forgot about him, and people are in need of running back help. And Jeremy, I don't know if you're watching, but I know you had a question about dart throws. There's one. Rashad Bateman, no Andrews. Somebody's going to pick up the slack. You would think likely, but this year it hasn't happened when Andrews wasn't there. Not like it did last year. And Rashad Bateman's starting to come on a little bit. Odell was too, but now Odell's hurt. I think Rashad Bateman is somebody that's probably sitting on wire. Yeah, you can only really use him this week because week 13 is his bye. But he's somebody to keep an eye on this week especially and just see what happens. Number 3, Dearness Johnson with a barf face because I hated to put it on here. Should be Tank Bigsby, but he's just not doing it. and they gave Dearness a shot last week, and he looked okay. I got a bad feeling about ETN getting through. He's made it to week 12 healthy. And I'm not rooting that he gets hurt because I like him. But he's a skinny man. He's a little guy. They can't use him the way they've been using him. Not when the weather gets cold and they got to go on the road and play against tough teams. I think Dearness Johnson is going to be somebody that needs to be rostered when the weather gets colder here. Number 2, Michael Carter. We talked about him a little bit. He's on Arizona now, in case you didn't know. James Conner doesn't look himself. James Conner's getting a little old. James Conner gets banged up. Michael Carter has juice. I think he's 23. He looked pretty good for the Jets when they were throwing him the ball in hurry-up time and catch-up mode.
Yep.
I think that's just what Arizona needs. They don't like Keontae Ingram. DeMarcado's terrible. I think Michael Carter is somebody you should be putting your eyes on, putting in a waiver claim for. And number 1, Will Grier. We don't know who the Patriots quarterback is going to be this week, but my goodness, we know it's not Zappy. He stinks. And Malik Cunningham, whatever. That's not Bill Belichick type of guy. You might be dying at quarterback. And if you got somehow an open spot, I'd be scooping Will Grier. I know the Patriots are not a dynamo, but they really are just a good quarterback away. The playmakers are good enough with Gesicki and Henry, Demario Douglas, and then whenever any of the old guys break out of their walker and are on the field, okay, ready to go, they can still move the ball. Ramondre, all you got to do is dump the ball off to him. He's starting to heat up before their bye. So I think Will Grier, it's a long shot. And I got one more.
Ooh, bonus.
And I got one more. And this was, I was driving in the car and I was like, did I read earlier that Michael Thomas is going to be out for a little while?
I believe,
I had to check.
Yeah.
So he's back in the mode of, I don't really feel like playing football anymore. That's what Michael Thomas has been doing for the past 3 years. A.T. Perry. The rookie, they're going to put him right in his spot. Shahid's going to do what Shahid does. It's going to be Olave and A.T. Perry. Mark it down. He's number 0 on the list. He's so good he didn't even make the list. He's not a 5 guy for your eye. He's a guy for your lineup. A.T. Perry. A couple people were a little high on him in the beginning because of the rookie, the shiny toy. He's finally going to get his shot. And if it's Jameis, that makes it even better because all he does is throw the damn ball. He don't even care who's there. It could be 10-on-1 throwing it. Questions from the group? No.
All right. Dude, that was awesome. Like I said, I do watch. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's not live. Sometimes it's afterwards. But to be a part of it, to hear it, I like it. I like it a lot there, my friend.
Yeah.
All right. You want to jump right into some comments here? Let's take a look.
Yeah,
what
let's
people
get
saying.
those live ones.
All right. Darius, what's up there, bud? Mark Andrews left my life. I got Pitts and Pat. Who should I start?
All right. Mark Andrews left my life. You got Pitts and Pat. Is that Muth? Is that Friar Muth?
I would think so.
I got to get a little high with these big things, Rob. These big ones.
We're going to adjust it.
These big jugs.
Actually, I have to sit up. I think you're right.
You know what? The Pitts thing, it should happen. But I'm going to go with Freiermuth just because Matt Canada's gone. Freiermuth is another week back. They're sticking with Kenny Pickett. Mike Tomlin wants to see. They want to make sure. They're the number 7 seed right now. They're in the playoffs, 6-4, I believe. Right? Yeah. He wants to see, the organization wants to see, okay, we got rid of our offensive coordinator. Was he the issue? Is Kenny Pickett the answer? They're going to give him every opportunity to prove it, because right now is make or break. Because if he's not the answer, they'll find out by losing and playing terribly on offense some more. Then they get in a position to draft a quarterback next year. I think the second week back for Freiermuth, new offensive coordinator. It's granted, it's the, what was it that I read? The running back coach is who's going to be the offensive coordinator, but the same person is still going to be calling the plays, which is weird. So it makes me wonder, what the hell was Matt Canada doing? What were you coordinating? Was it just practice? Practice. But I want to see. So I think, yes, they're going against Cincinnati, I believe, this week. It's quite possible they don't need to throw as much. Listen, I don't think Jake Browning is as terrible as he looked. But I don't think he's as good as Burrow, of course, obviously. There might be some short fields, and that's where Freiermuth can excel. So this week, I'm going to go with Freiermuth because we've seen the Pitts show, and I'm going to take my shot on a more consistent tight end in an offense that is going to be out to prove something this week. Pittsburgh is going to be out to prove something, even if it's on the road, even if it's against the Bengals without Joe Burrow. Pat Freiermuth.
All right, Darko, very nice of Landon. Yes, it is very nice of Landon. We definitely appreciate him doing that for the ABG fam. All right, Darius with another one here. Also, Wilson, Waddle, or Hollywood for my flex, because everybody I named disappeared last week. I just don't understand what's going on. Plus, I had Cup. Guess said it before.
Yeah, you fall into the boat. I'm just looking.
I'm really not liking this whole zoomed in thing, man. I don't see your handsome face there, bud.
I don't like it.
All right, we're going to change it back.
Zoom me out.
Zoom out.
We're on the fly.
Yeah.
You know, Waddle has been kind of non-existent, and they're going against the Jets. It's that Black Friday game. Is that Michael Wilson? We don't even know if he's going to play. So maybe at Garrett. Home, well, it might be Garrett going against Miami. Either way, I'm going to go with Hollywood because of what I just said. There's been 2 games since Kyler's back, 2 games where he's hardly targeted Hollywood. They're playing at home against the Rams. And I'm going to take Hollywood to get a long one this week against the Rams. So I'm going with Hollywood, Darius. And I really appreciate, by the way, that you come in and you watch and you participate from YouTube every single week. It's very appreciated. And if you know anybody that you don't care to share us with, please do so. Because we are trying to expand at a rapid rate.
All right. I do. Yes, I agree, man. Darius, really appreciate the question. Share me. I'm ABG. I'm dead. Just trying to be respectable. Stop them on the 1 yard line. Yeah, you could be a person that hurts people going in, man. If you feel like you're out of it, remember, there's always that cancellation tournament, or I guess the what is it called? Going
consolation
for first
tournament.
Consolation tournament. Yeah. So
yeah, you don't want to be one of the last 2 teams so that you can play in that. And then you can pick your draft choice next year. Now, listen, I was talking to Craig because Craig doesn't have Facebook. He watches us on YouTube. So I was texting him. I said, hey, we're doing a show. It's going to be the only show of the week at 9 o'clock. And he's like, all right. And about half an hour before the show, he texted me. He said, my sinus infection is really messing with me. I'm just going to go rest. I'm getting angry, blah, blah, blah. I said, that's fine. He goes, I wouldn't have many questions anyways because I'm 3-7 or whatever it was, 3-8 and pretty much dead. I'm like, that's when you play spoiler. That's when you
Definitely.
play for pride. If you don't have a consolation tournament, all you want to do is ruin somebody else's life. I'm sorry. That's what you have to do. You never give up. And Jeremy, you of all people, because in the ABG chat a couple of years ago, I believe people got mad at you for picking somebody up off waivers when you were eliminated. But guess what? You weren't eliminated because you had a game. If you have a game, you're not eliminated. You're not eliminated until you don't have a game. You're playing for pride. Screw everybody else. This is about you, not them. And that's just how you got to roll. It's cutthroat, man. It was cutthroat in week 1. It's going to be cutthroat in week 17. And every step of the way.
Preach, brother. All right. Remember, guys, always like, comment, and share. We appreciate every single one of you. I'm going to go to Dave's comment here. Zach will always be the main issue. Me and Dave text daily about the Jets. Our buddy Tom, you know Tom as well.
Yeah.
The conversations that we have that just feel like it's a big circle around Zach, and then boom, hit Zach. And then a big circle around Zach, and then boom, hit Zach. I just don't know anymore, man. I just want the Jets to be good.
He holds the ball too long. Their line is terrible. As soon as somebody comes near him and breathes on him, he falls down. But there are times where he gets out and he makes a great throw and his receivers drop the ball. And there are times when it's 3rd and 8 and you're calling a run or the routes that the guys are going are not something that gets to the yard markers. It's like, help him out. Help him out. He was an issue, and I made that clear. He was an issue. He was not good, especially last week. But he wasn't the only issue. And that much is true.
I do agree with you, bud. All right. Let me jump into some games real quick, and then we'll go back to some questions.
Yeah.
All right. ABG3P, propositions, preparations, and our preferences. Some of these are going to be a little bit more difficult because they don't put bets out very much for Sundays on a Tuesday. So
No.
this might be a Rob special.
That's okay. I'm excited.
All right. First one on my list here. Thanksgiving Day, Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. Over under Mr. Jordan Love. You talked about him earlier. 227.5 passing yards. He looked good the last couple games, man. Like you said, Jordan Bortles.
Yeah, and you want to know what was interesting about the Lions last week? Didn't really touch on them too much. Jared Goff at home early with 3 picks.
Yeah.
That don't happen. That doesn't happen.
Doesn't.
And yet they still came back and they won. I think that their offense is going to get back on track in this one. They're not going to be making those same mistakes. And because of that, Jordan Love's going to have to throw the ball to keep up. So I'm going over. And remember what I said very early on after week 1 about Mr. Jaden Reed. Who did I say he reminded me of as a young rookie? Do you remember?
I don't.
Devontae Adams.
Oh, yes.
Reminded me of Devontae Adams in his rookie season. Did a little bit in the beginning, sort of disappeared, then came back strong. He's back strong. Dobbs got a touchdown. Watson did his 1 catch for 1 touchdown. He's terrible. I hate him. You know who he is? I feel like he's somebody that's going to be out of the league in a couple of years. Christian Watson. He's a flash in the pan with his 4 touchdowns in 4 games last year after coming back. It's just he doesn't look good out there. But Love's going to have to throw the ball. There's going to be no Musgrave. They'll use the other 2, Tucker Kraft, who I had as a 5 guy for your eye. And it's going to be a ton of A.J. Dillon because even Emmanuel Wilson's injured. So if you're an A.J. Dillon owner, fire him up.
Jaden Reed reminds me of Antonio Brown a little bit back as well. That same type of they're creating routes for him. Mm-hmm. They're trying to get the ball in his hands. I mean, what was it, a rush play that he had that big touchdown on? Yep. I kind of like that as well. But yeah, good comparison to Devontae Adams. You definitely did say that. All right, next one here. Over under Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7.5 receptions.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go over.
Just
It's
gets the
it's
ball
so-
so much,
it's
man.
so much. It's such a high number, but I think getting to 8 is like nothing for him. I mean, 5 minutes in the game, 2 possessions in the game, he might have none, and next thing you know, he's got 4 or 5. So and they'll do them in a row. Like Amon Ra, Amon Ra, Amon Ra,
Yeah.
run, Amon Ra. It's like, what the heck? He had nothing. Now he's got 4 for 68.
Yeah,
It's like, well, that's how it happens. I'm going over.
I like it.
I
need
wish
that
I
man.
didn't draft him in one of the first 2 rounds because he would be my keeper in ABG. I think I drafted him in the second round.
Yeah, he would definitely be a second rounder at least. He was going the second round everywhere. Sometimes in the first.
Yeah.
All right. Next game here. Washington Commanders at the Dallas Cowboys. Also on Thanksgiving Day. Over under Brian Robinson Jr. 68.5 total yards. Found that to be kind of low, to be honest with you, the way he's been running. I was actually going to take this bet today, to be honest with you, because, again, that just seems low, especially the way he's been producing.
It's interesting you say that because my first thought was under.
Really?
My first thought was under, and the reason being because it's Dallas.
Good defense.
And Dallas is going to throw all over Washington, and Washington's going to have to throw to keep up. And Gibson's healthy, and he's back, and he's going to play this week, so he's going to eat into Brian Robinson. It's not like last week against the Giants. Washington is just going to have to try and keep up. Dallas can be able to score at will, like I said. They look like they're hitting their stride. This is the game that makes everybody start calling them Super Bowl contenders. Thanksgiving, it's like the same thing every single year. Washington's defense is terrible. Sam Howell has more passing yards than anybody in the NFL. That will continue. They're going to throw. I know it's total yards, but with Gibson slated to play, I think that's going to take away from any of the passing down work for Brian Robinson. So I'm going to go under here, Rob.
All right. Next one here on the opposite side of the ball, Mr. CeeDee Lamb, over under 89.5 receiving yards.
Well, I'm going to go over. I mean, it's everything I just said. They're going to be able to throw at will against them. And I like that Jalen Tolbert's finally getting involved a little bit, but Brandon Cooks is doing his thing. Gallup's getting involved. Ferguson's involved. I called it out on ABG 3P. Schoonmaker got his touchdown last week.
Bro, I actually cheered when I saw Schoonmaker touchdown. I was like, and same thing with Smart too, by the way. But
yeah, right. And I was like the tight end whisperer last week.
You definitely were.
Schoonmaker and Stone Smart. Those are two guys I talked about in ABG 3P. Both of them scored. And maybe Pollard got going a little bit last week, finally, and Rico. So they're going to be able to do whatever the hell they want. And CD can do this in 3 catches. So I'm all in. Yeah, that's over for me.
All right, I'll finish up the Thanksgiving Day games here. San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. Over under Mr. Brock Purdy, Mr. Perfect Passer Rater, Mr. Passing Rating Purdy fanciness. 1.5 passing touchdowns.
This is an interesting one. Geno's banged up. He'll probably play, but if he doesn't, Drew Lock did not look good.
He did not.
A little bit. He looked so bad that they put a hurt Geno Smith in for the final drive. That's how bad it was. And I like Drew Lock. I would be rooting for him. I like a couple Seattle guys in this game because I think the Niners are going to be able to do pretty much whatever they want. The Seattle defense is better than a lot of people realize. They're opportunistic. They got a couple real solid rookies, cornerback and a linebacker. They got the 12th man. I think it's going to be the toughest spot so far for Purdy. Let's go over. You can get to 2. Listen, Brock Purdy, when he has all of his weapons, is at his best.
100%.
Take one away, and he starts to decline rapidly.
Dude, Debo not being on the field for those 3 games, you're right. They lost all 3. What a difference. He comes back after the bye week, and it looks like the same team before he went out.
Yeah, and sometimes when Kittle wasn't there, it was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So when they're all there, he's all there. And for the nightcap on Thanksgiving while you're sucking on pie milkshakes, he'll be scoring 2 touchdowns at least.
All right. On the opposite side of the ball, Mr. Zach Charbonnet. Will he have a touchdown? Seems like Walker, I know they're saying he's more than likely out on the short week, but he's still listed as questionable. I'm praying and hoping and wishing, but doesn't sound very good.
I hope he scores a touchdown. They have to at least.
This is ridiculous, man.
They have to at least get inside the 3, or he's got to bust one. And because I've had such a good run, not a great run, but a good run with the ABG 3P, hitting a 65% clip at minimum, I'm going to throw it in as a yes and hope this one wins just because I said yes. Well, other weeks I've been saying the opposite, saying, well, I need him to do it, so I'm going to say no. And then I get it right, and it screws me in fantasy. So now I'm going to say yes, and it's gonna come through.
You are going to be thankful if that happens
I will
on
be very
Thanksgiving
thankful.
Day.
I will be sucking on a pumpkin pie milkshake with my fat stomach just hanging out all over the place.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. All right. Let's go to Jeremy's question here. Do we start Higgins without Burrow? Puka and Kirk are currently his starters.
Well, the problem is Puka's banged up. He got hurt, I think, on the last play of the game or something. Or not last play, but last few minutes. Higgins could wind up being, I know that it's typically been like Boyd's role, like a check down possession type guy. But that might be how they try and work in Higgins. You're definitely playing Kirk. And I think we got to wait and hear about Puka. I mean, as of right now, if you got 3 starters, I mean, that's 3 that look fine for me. I don't know who else you have. I think that going against Pittsburgh will be tough this week, but at least you're at home. And if the Pittsburgh offense does what I think that they probably will do is play some inspired football and have some sort of plays that are not 1954 driven, they'll be able to move the ball, and which will mean Cincinnati will need to throw the ball a little bit. I don't see this game being a blast from the past like last week. So I'm fine with those 3, but I don't know who else you got. So do I start him without Burrow? I think, yeah, he's talented enough. He's the number 2. Teams are going to focus in on Chase. You kind of have to unless you got a better option.
All right, Leon with the question here. Hey, guys, what's up there, Leon? Starting Puka, but can't decide other 2 wide receivers between Chase, Adams, and Addison. Addison's been playing pretty crappy with Dobbs, but what do you think?
Addison's been playing pretty crappy with Dobbs, but they're going against Chicago, and they're at home, and it's Monday Night Magic.
I was going to say Kirk Cousins at home, but that doesn't work on prime time or anymore.
Adam, yeah, I know. Dobbs in primetime is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Adams at home against the Chiefs.
Yep.
I'm going to be honest, man. I think because you have time, I would start those 3. Because Puka's banged up. Now, I know they're going against Arizona. It's Tuesday. This is why I said Tuesday Rex, salt grain checks. Anything that I say or recommend today, I'm a poet and I know it for show it.
Oh, yeah.
You have to take with a grain of salt because it's Tuesday. Wednesday's going to come. We're going to get a new report. Thursday's going to come. We're going to have football. and reports. Friday is going to come. We're going to have football and reports, and then Saturday. So if Puka starts practicing in full, well, now we might have a discussion about who could we take out. But as of right now, I'm going to play Chase Adams and Addison, and I'm going to sit Puka with what I know. Because if they hold him out, which I don't think they will, but we'll see, I think that you got to go with the other three that are healthy. It goes back to what I said a few weeks ago. If a guy going in is iffy, take him out. It was Deebo Samuel for me, and he was who I put on the picture. He was iffy going in. All it took was one little push out of bounds. He was out the rest of the game. First drive of the game, 0. So I don't want to take that risk. I'd rather play healthy guys. So on a Tuesday, I'm playing the other three.
All right, Jeremy. Yeah, but you took issues with that. Glad you finally agree.
I did not take issues with that.
I think you have that wrong, bud. We're probably on your side. We played till the end,
I did not take issues with that. It was other people that took issues with that. That is not me. I will play and pick up guys until I die. Sorry. If I don't have a matchup, I leave it alone. And I actually had the league set up that way. Once you're eliminated, you can't make moves. But you're not eliminated if you have a matchup. You're playing for something.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's pride or $1 million, you paid an entry fee. You are playing a matchup. And you play to win the games.
And especially that it's a consolation prize that it's all based on positioning. So,
right.
All right. Anyways, Leon with a question here: Keaton Mitchell or Rashad Stevenson?
Man, I like them both this week. I like them both because I think Keaton. What we're going is that the Chargers?
Keaton Mitchell is the Sunday Chargers. Night Football. Chargers. All right.
Love that against the Chargers because it's a very soft defense that he should be able to run all over. We talked about it. His last 5 carries last week were great. His first 3 were terrible. If the first 3 were good, his line would have looked a lot better. But I also really like Stevenson this week going against the Giants. I'm just wondering, who's the other guy? Because I'd like to play both of these guys, Leon. I'm going to guess you got somebody with first round, second round talent. I don't know if we're talking Jonathan Taylor or like Tony Pollard or what you have in there. But I like both of these guys quite a bit this week. When he says ETN.
Jags are
Houston
playing against Houston. Houston defense is playing real well, man. But I have to play ETN, so.
I think ETN is safer than Mitchell. So if you want to go safe, which is smart, it's ETN and Stevenson for me. But I talked about how they were. What happened to ETN last week?
He didn't play great. Yeah. Well, Trevor Lawrence stole every single one of his touchdowns. So
stole all of his touchdowns, but he didn't get any yards. I mean,
couple like towards the end. Yards. Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
Towards the end. Before they had like 17 yards for like 3 quarters. I'm like, holy crap, this is great.
Calvin Ridley showed up.
Yeah. So we'll see because Houston they're going to be able to pass all over Jacksonville. They're going to do what Tennessee did not do, like I talked about in Answers with Guests. I would like to play Keaton Mitchell and Stevenson, but I think the safe move is ETN and Stevenson. But I like to get sexy. Yeah. I don't know if you ever seen me in person before. I know you have. I like Mitchell and Stevenson a lot this week, but I guess if you have to just pick one because you're going to roll with ETN, we go with Stevenson.
All right, Landon, congrats to whoever won the shirt giveaway. Haven't done it yet, bud, but we will be doing that. We appreciate you, to be honest.
Typing in the names as we go.
Appreciate you, bud, for doing that. All right, we'll go with one last one here from Leon. He says, which one of the defenses would you like most this week? Saints, Texans, or Pats? Trying to hang on to first place.
Saints, Texans, or Pats? Well, the Saints playing at the Falcons. Texans we just talked about at home against Jacksonville.
Patriots are on the road against the Giants.
I think I would go with the Patriots.
Yeah, I think Tommy Colcutt's. That's Belichick's going to try to stop Tommy Colcutt from doing stuff. I'm sorry, Tommy Cutlet. Damn, everything works though.
Everything works. Tommy
Bag of donuts.
Tommy Provolone.
All right, let's jump into some more games, and we'll take some more of the comments. All right, the Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets. This is the Black Friday game. I wish it wasn't the Jets because I honestly think this is going to be a horrible showing all around. But anyways, over under Tyreek Hill, 6.5 receptions. I thought was really low. Obviously, they have Gardner. Obviously, they have Reed. But 6.5 could be the first 6 minutes, I feel like, too.
These two did not play yet this year, right?
No, this is our first game against Miami.
They play again in 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, a few weeks down the road. I think it's week 16, if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
I'm going to go under. I think he gets 6.
Oh, you got faith in my Jets.
I'm going to go under. I think he gets 6.
All right. You were talking about him before. I had to bring him, obviously. Mr. Tim Boyle, over under a passing touchdown. Will he have a passing touchdown? Yes or no, pretty much.
Do they get close? You know what's going to happen here?
It's going to go crazy.
No. Like you would think, just because of the way things are, the way things go, that he comes out and balls out. But I don't think that's the story. I don't think that's even what Robert Saleh wants. I feel like he almost wants to put Boyle out there and have him die in the same exact way that Zach Wilson did, so he could be like, see, it wasn't Zach. But that doesn't change the fact that there might be an opportunity for him to somehow get a random passing touchdown.
So you're going over?
I think I'll go over because I think like it's possible that Garrett Wilson gets loose.
So it'll be more on the receivers being able to take one from 5 yards out all the way.
Or just burn somebody.
Yeah.
And get the ball in the air. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go on to some Sunday games here. Tampa Bay Bucks at the Indianapolis Colts. Over under Mr. Cade Otton. 6.5 fantasy points, half PPR.
I like this one. I'm going to go over here because I think that the Colts secondary can be had. And I know that Cade Otton pretty much plays below the secondary with the linebackers. But I think that it's going to open up space with Mike Evans and Godwin and Trey Palmer and all the other guys that Baker was using last week. He was using everybody against the Niners, which was very smart. He didn't have his best game, but he didn't have a terrible game. He was using who he had to use. And I think that it's going to open up a couple things for Cade Otton. All he needs is a touchdown, and he gets 6.5 so long as it's 0 yards. So I will say over. And bank on him getting at least a touchdown of 1 yard.
Dude, Cade Otton's been that question mark. I feel he was one of my Rob bonuses back in, I want to say, probably the preseason shows, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. He hasn't been there for Baker. Here and there he shows up, but I think this could be a good game for him. Dude, what's going on with Shaq Lawson, too? They let him go. Really weird situation, I thought, with that. He used to be the face of that franchise.
Yeah.
All right, next one here. Over under Mr. Gardner Minshew, 235.5 passing yards against this Tampa Bay Bucks defense that isn't half bad.
Yeah, a little better, easier to pass against them than it is to run. JT might be able to do some things. I think that they're going to use Moss maybe a little bit more than they did last game, even if it's 10%. I mean, because last game was like 3%. But I think he can get to 236. against the Bucks because I do think that the Bucks are going to be able to score. Last week was a tough one. I think that the offense puts an extra 10 on the board. So I think that the Colts are going to have to play a little bit of catch up. The defense, like you said, getting rid of Don't Call Me Shaq. I'll go over. I'll go over with Minshew. Last week was a down week, low scoring. I think we're going to bounce back.
Plus, nobody on buys makes it a lot easier, too. So, all right. New England Patriots at the New York Giants. Over under Mr. Ramondre Stevenson, 72.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, rushing alone, I'm going to say under. Just because Zeke is still there stealing stuff. He might get to 69, but I think he could break 100 total this week.
Yeah, the passing game's been working for them pretty well with him. Right. You're right, like those small dump offs. And you know what happens? Kind of like you were mentioning with Amon-Ra, all of a sudden he'll have 0 catches throughout the game, and then 4 plays in a row, he'll get a reception, and that's how they're playing that whole entire drive.
Well, really, a lot of this also is going to depend on what quarterback they choose. Sure. Let's please just choose Will Grier. Just do it. What do you have to lose? You might save yourself a draft pick. You just might, because it ain't Zappy. You're proving it's not Mac. It's not Cunningham. He doesn't fit you, Bill. Put Will Grier in there. What a game. Just like I said last week against Washington. Put Jacob Eason in there. Well, against the Giants, put Will Grier in there. Let's see what happens.
All right, on the flip side of the ball, over under Mr. Wandale Robinson, 3.5 receptions. Sorry.
Wandale.
3.5 receptions. Darius Slayton was going to be my choice this week for this one, but obviously him being hurt, leaving the game early last one, I went with Mr. Robinson.
You know who appeared out of thin air, reappeared last week? Hodgins.
Yeah.
Where the heck have you been?
I forgot he played for that team.
Where have you been? Why have they not been using him?
Tommy Cutlets.
Yeah, I'm going to go over with Wandale. Wandale.
I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't want to mess it up. That's why I figured I'd try
Wandale or Wandale. Nobody knows.
All right, let's jump back into some comments here. All right, Jeremy, it could be a CMC game. I guess this is when we were talking about the San Francisco game. It's always a CMC game, I feel like. All right, he said he started a chain last week, and look what happened. Questionable and forced out. Dude, I started Atchin in Atchin in ABG League. It was a last-minute decision. It was him or Deontay Johnson. They pretty much scored the same thing anyways. That Ahmed touchdown, though, should have been a chance, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. I'm worried that injury that he suffered in week 3 or 4, whatever it was, could have ruined his career. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because we see this sometimes with guys. They're just incredible.
Yep.
And then they come back and they get hurt in an instant. And then they're just never the same again.
Yeah,
James Robinson. James Robinson, Achane was a different type of player than James Robinson. The same sort of thing. Get that injury, never come back. That's why I'm so surprised Javonte Williams is back like he's back. He's not 100 yet.
He's looking good, though, man.
I didn't think he would play again.
Yeah.
But you're right. He was a little risky, but he was coming off IR, so.
All right, Brandon with one here. What's your take on Likely or Logan Thomas, Hunter Henry, Higbee, need a tight end, had Mark Andrews?
Yeah, I think out of all those guys, I would just take a shot at Likely. The only problem is he's got a bye week 13. Logan Thomas is going to have a bye week 14. Hunter Henry is someone that's bye was last week. Higbee sucks. He hasn't scored a touchdown in years. I would like to take the likely road, but then I'm going to need to worry about someone else. So you probably have guys like Michael Mayer available. Musgrave's in the hospital, so you can't use him. But Mayer has bye week 13 as well. Out of this list, Brandon, I'm picking up Hunter Henry because the Patriots are going to make a quarterback change. I think it's going to help their offense, if it's Greer especially. And Hunter Henry has been sometimes better than other times, but more consistent than these guys. And his bye week's over. So I'm going with Hunter Henry, Brandon. It's just consistent. You plug him in, you use him for the rest of the year, unless you find something else out there on the waiver wire that you can mess with. Like a Cade Otton might be out.
I was going to say even a Donald Parham might be somebody to take a risk on just because they throw the ball so much. He was being looked at again. He had a big drop. I don't know if it was a touchdown or it was close to a touchdown or something like that. That's somebody else to look at as well. All right, Darko with one here. Start two: Minshew, DeVito, Browning, Ritter, or DTR.
I think I'm definitely going to go with Minshew just for the sexiness. He's at home. He's playing against a team that you could pass against. I already said he'd be over Rob's passing prop. I'm not going to take the chance going against Belichick's defense with DeVito. Browning, not going to take a chance going against Pittsburgh's defense, even though he's at home. Ritter's an interesting one because he's at home and getting the starting job back. Maybe light a fire under his butt a little bit. So I'm going to go with Minshew and Ritter. I'm going to go with the two guys that are at home that are actually pretty decent. I'm rooting for Danny DeVito, Tommy DeVito, Joe Pesci from Goodfellas, but I'm not going to do it against Belichick. This is not the same as last week. I hope he kills it. I would love for him to be a superstar. This week, I'm going Minshew and Ritter for you.
All right, Darius, big W's with you guys are the best. Just being here no matter what, taking questions, appreciate that. We appreciate you joining, bud. Definitely.
Yeah, very much so.
Tell your friends. All right, Darko, I already scooped up Greer and ABG, hoping they'll come to their senses. Sounds like you guys are on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, he's just probably better than anything they have. Dude just needs a chance.
He said he'd be starting for the Bengals right now if they didn't snag him. But yeah, like you said, that's a Belichick move, right?
He would be. He knew that. And I mentioned that.
You did?
When that happened.
You said that.
I mentioned it. As soon as Burrow showed that he was hurt, it was like week 2 or 3.
Yeah, the calf.
Belichick went right to the practice squad and snatched Will Greer. Because he's like, something ain't right with Burrow. Yep. Because Belichick at that time thought that he would be competing for the playoffs. So it was a very smart move. He's like, well, if I could make sure that the Bengals suck, I'll grab this guy. Well, you snatched him. How about you use what you snatched? You obviously knew he was good, and if the Bengals got to use him, the Bengals would be all right. So how about you use him so that you are all right?
All right.
All right.
All right. Jumping to the next games here. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cincinnati Bengals. Over under Mr. Kenny Pickett, 15.5 fantasy points, 4-point touchdowns. Obviously, we talked about Canada already being let go. How do you see this happening for Kenny?
That's a tough number, even with 6-point TDs for Mr. Kenny Pickett. But I think that they want to show something. They really do. And so I'm going to go over. He hardly ever gets 2 touchdowns in a game. He probably need to get 2 touchdowns to hit this, if not 3.
3, all right.
100,
3, yeah,
100,
3. It's 3 at 100 something yards. He should be able to hit that, but at least 2 and 200 something yards probably makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Pittsburgh. Sorry. Same thing. Same game. Jake Browning, 188.5 passing and rushing yards. I should have just put total yards. But, anyways, he did have 40 rushing yards last game, and he looked good moving the way he did, man.
That's a good call, Rob. Yeah, I think that he'll have to use his legs to get out a little bit and get away from Mr. Watt and whatnot. So I think that we're going to go over here because I'm not shying away from Chase or Higgins in this one, as I discussed answering the questions, because I don't think Browning is terrible. I really don't. He's not great. He's not Burrow. But I don't think he's terrible. Being at home here is going to help. Pittsburgh's tough. But I think having all hands on deck, having a week to prep is going to help him. So I'm going to go over this number. I think he gets to 200 combined quite easily. Quite easily, Rob.
I like it. It's funny. I was looking at Browning in one of the leagues that I'm not with you in. But who was my quarterback? Maybe it escapes me. Too many teams. All right. Carolina Panthers at the Tennessee Titans. Over under Mr. Miles Sanders, 38.5 rushing yards. He gets some more burn because of the way the Dallas game went last week, but still had, I think it was 11 or 12 touches or something like that. What are you thinking?
I think under. Tennessee's tough to run against. They're at home. They're even better at home. Chuba's still a starter. I think getting to 35 will be tough, so I'm going to go under.
All right. Flip side of the ball. You talked about him before. DeAndre Hopkins, 14.75 fantasy points, full PPR. Did have the touchdown last week on that. That was a pretty cool play. I'm not going to lie. I thought that was a pretty good play. Will Levis has an arm, man.
Triple lateral? Was that the one?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Handoff, pitch, throwback, chuck.
Yeah.
A
lot happening back there.
I think he'd have to get a touchdown here. 60 and 2 catches, touchdown. Yeah, let's go over. Because I think he could probably get four for 80, and he's almost there. So make it 6 for 80. Yeah, I think he can get a touchdown. He likes him in the end zone.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Hopkins' targets have really not gone down. He didn't have a lot last game, but the 2 games before that, I think he was like 11 or averaging like 10 targets a game. So always targets, target, at least in my head. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans. Over under Mr. Trevor Lawrence, 2.5 total touchdowns because that son of a bee took all ETN's touchdowns away from him.
And he did this last year. I was an ETN.
What is he trying to prove? Rob,
I was an ETN owner last year and fantasized me the same league that you won him in this year, and I suffered the same way you did that game. The only problem is it was all year long. At least you've gotten a ton of ETN up until this point. It was all year long. Is Evan Ingram ever going to score a touchdown again?
I hope, dude. I put him in so many daily fantasy lineups, being like, it has to be the week. It has to be the week that he does well. It has to be the week. Nope, not the week.
I'll go over here as I think it's 2-1. 2-1.
He's going to catch a touchdown. I'm just joking. All right. On the other side of the ball, I mean, can't deny what this kid's doing right now. Over under Tank Dell, 64.5 receiving yards. I thought this was super low the way he's been playing nowadays and the way CJ Stroud's been throwing the ball.
Yeah, you got to throw on Jacksonville, Civ. Over. It's a carousel. It's a roller coaster, those wide receivers in Houston. He's had a couple up weeks in a row. He could be due for a down one, but I'm not counting on it, so let's go over.
All right. We're going to go over on that one. All right. Let's go into Brandon's question here. Robertson, Mostert, or Godwin, pick one PPR.
Who the hell's Robertson?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, not him then.
I'm trying to think of who it is.
It might be Robinson, Brian Robinson.
Maybe Brian Robinson, Bijan Robinson, maybe one of those guys. Probably Brian.
Robert Pattinson from Twilight. You know,
I'm gonna go with probably Brian Robinson, just based on the other names that are in this list.
Yeah, just based on this, I mean, Mostert, you get that little bit of Black Friday in you. I want to go Godwin, but I think Mostert is the safest with no Achane. And, you know, he didn't really do too much last week. Jeff Wilson's going to be back, they're saying.
It's Brian Robinson.
Brian Robinson. Yeah. So I think I'm going to say Godwin because I do think that game has some shootout appeal, the Colts and the Bucks. But Mostert is certainly safe because with Tim Boyle, they could be running a lot. But with Achane hurt again, they might want to preserve Mostert and just use Jeff Wilson and Ahmed. I'm going Godwin, Brandon. I'm going Godwin in a game that should be more back and forth. And it's full point PPR, and that's what he does. He hasn't been great this year because Baker's been spreading it to who's open. But going against the Colts, I think Godwin will be able to do some things. So I'm going Godwin.
All right. Fantasy Football Wizard of Odds. Howell or Fields? What's up there, bud?
Well, I love the Fields on Monday night. And I know Howell throws the ball all over the place. He's the leader in yards.
Good call, Brandon. I didn't know that. Sorry, go ahead.
What was that?
Sorry, Brandon said Ahmed's on IR. Just going back to his thing real quick.
He hit IR?
Yeah. I didn't even realize that. Dude, what Tuesday. I'm off.
Jeez.
Sorry, go ahead.
I must have missed that. When did that happen? Yesterday?
I expected to miss the rest of the season. Good call, Brandon.
Sheesh. Thanks, Brandon. That's why we don't do this on Tuesday. I'm going Fields. I'm going Monday night. He looked good coming back. I'm going with Fields. They're both on the road. Howell's Thanksgiving on the road. Dallas, better defense than the Vikings. Fields going to get those rushing yards. I know Howell can run, but I'm going Fields. Monday Night Magic.
All right, we'll do one more. I like Fields. I'm actually debating between Fields and Stroud, which I don't know why I would take Stroud out, but I just see Fields playing the way he did before, man. Howell, he throws the ball a lot, but that Dallas defense is just, it's good. I'm going to go Fields as well. We'll take one more from Josue here. Just to give you a heads up, Josue, we haven't done the group questions yet, so that we'll answer that at the end. If I don't trade Stroud, should I start him or Fields? Hey, I'm in the same boat. So I'm actually thinking the same way as you are. I'm not 100% sure. I do like the fact that the Texans are playing the Jaguars at home, where Fields is on the road in Minnesota. That's what has me leaning towards Stroud right now.
Yeah, I would go Stroud. And by the way, I saw your question, and I know that we'll talk more about it, but I'm not trading them. I tell you right now, since you're here and you're listening, I get it. Dude lost Burrow or whatever, and you're trying to get something to fill a piece, but what happens if you trade Stroud and Fields goes down again? Now what do you got? Just keep it. Screw that dude. He lost Burrow or whatever. That's all. Let him pick some off the scrap heap. Your team is solid enough. We'll look at it when we do it. Your team is solid enough that you don't need that, and you don't need to give him a lifeline. You know, we saw that thing where the dude's holding on to the jersey, trying to make the playoffs. That's that guy holding on to the jersey, and you're slowing down so you can catch up. Cut that shit off.
Boom!
Drop him. No, you don't need to do it. Don't give out lifelines. Your
Yeah.
team's good. Let them sink.
All right, let's jump into some games, and then we'll go back to some comments here. New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. Over under Mr. Rashid Shaheed. You had mentioned them before. You're liking A.T. Perry, but 3.5 receptions now that Michael Thomas decided that he doesn't want to play football anymore.
Under.
Is that because you think it's Jameis Winston's going to go to Perry more? If it is him, does Derek Carr not look his way? I'm actually was thinking about playing Shaheed this week.
I think it's because he's generally in the 2 or 3, not really too much more range, and Atlanta wants to run. And they want to slow the game down. And the Saints are a pretty good defense. And I think this would be a close one where there might be a shot or two for Shaheed. He might be viable for fantasy because that's his game. All he's got to do is get 1 or 2 big long ones and have one fall into the end zone. But I just don't think with all the weapons they have that he needs to be even targeted more than 4 or 5 times. So I think he could wind up with 2 or 3 and be fruitful. But I don't see him getting 4.
You're right. All right, on the flip side here, you talked about him earlier, Mr. Desmond Ridder coming back, 19.5 fantasy points, 6-point touchdowns.
You know, I think he's going to be like right around that number.
I know. I think I did pretty good here, bud.
Yeah, I think he's going to be like right there. So I'm going to say under because I think he's going to be like 18.5 or 19. You know, it's going to be like right there, which is good if you need him, like Darko does, but not great. Top 15-ish.
Yeah, right there on that cusp.
Yep.
All right, next one here. Los Angeles Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. Over under. Mr. Kyren Williams is coming back. I gave him 61.5 total yards. I think somebody got dropped today too, right? Did Darrell Henderson get released?
Which is interesting because let's just say he gets hurt mid-game. You're going to just use Royce Freeman?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why not just keep him on the team? He wasn't costing you much. You know what? I'm going to go. I want to say under, but I'm going to go over. But I'm worried that it'll go under because of re-injury. Just because of the Achane thing, just because of the other things we've seen this year where a guy comes back and then they get injured, just because of props I've taken throughout the year where it seems so easy like this. And in the first quarter, the guy gets hurt. And you're like, well, that sucks. I just lost that money, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to say over because he should be able to do it. 31 apiece, 31 rushing yards, 31 passing or receiving yards. Seems like way too easy. So I'm going to say over, but I'm nervous. I don't know if I would play Kyren Williams this week unless I absolutely had to. I think I would wait. I'd wait it out a week.
Look what happened to Achane. I mean, that's the same kind of concept, man. And I don't know. I agree with you. 61.5 is something that I made up just because, again, coming off of IR, the fact that Freeman was playing good. This was before the news broke about Henderson because I thought there could be a 3-headed monster there. But all right, next one here on the flip side. Yes or no, Mr. Rondale Moore, 1 touchdown. Did have a touchdown last week. Kyler, like you said, looking pretty damn good, man.
Yeah, I think Kyler will run one in. I think McBride's going to get one this week, and I think Hollywood's going to get one this week. And if Michael Wilson plays, that makes it even more difficult. So I'm going to say no for Rondale Moore.
All right. Going to the next game here. Cleveland Browns at the Denver Broncos. Over under Mr. David Njoku, 7.5 targets. Dude has been a target monster recently.
He has been. He had a ton last week, and that's because that's what was open. Denver will take note of that.
Denver's defense is
that
playing pretty good, man.
Denver locked down Mr. Hawkinson last week. I believe you had Hawkinson the same exact number on ABG3P.
I'm pretty
seven
sure
and
I
a half
did.
targets.
Yep.
And I said under, and it went under. And I'm saying under again for David Njoku, under 7.5 targets. I think the defense is going to lock in on him. They see what's happening. You know, these stats are widely available. Replays that I watch, that other people watch, of full game footage are available. And these teams have it at their disposal easier than the rest of us. But they know that he's been killing it. And they're really good against the tight end. They showed it last week against TJ Hawkinson. They're going to guard him, and they're going to make somebody else beat him, especially with a rookie quarterback.
Good call. I didn't even realize it was against Denver that I did Hawk, but you're 100% correct. I just looked. It was 7.5 targets. Good call. All right. Flip side of the ball. Russell Wilson over under 202.5 passing yards. Thought this was a little low, but he really hasn't been getting yardage. He's been getting the touchdown. And again, this Cleveland defense just is elite, man.
Yeah, I think he's going to get to 216. So I'm going to go over. I got him in the 216 this week. So over.
All right.
That thin air in Denver is going to get to Cleveland.
It floats.
The thin air is going to get to him.
All right. As Brandon said, Ahmed on to IR. Thank you for the update on that. Again, on a Tuesday, I did not see that. Appreciate you doing that. All right. Josue, do you think Likely steps up? I had Andrews, but luckily I picked up Schultz 2 weeks before. You had talked about this a little before, but go on. Go over
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. He did last year, but this year he did not when Andrews was out. I honestly think it was a five guy for your eye. Name we all know, Rashad Bateman. I feel like he's kind of getting a little warm. And I think he's somebody who might step up here. Likely is worth a scoop for sure if you can get him. And hope he replicates what he did last year and not what he did earlier this season when Andrews was out. But you got Schultz, so just roll with Schultz.
All right, Josue, number 5 on the waivers. I'm putting a claim in for Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, and
running
that
backs
way
are always needed, man.
Now you don't need to trade one of your quarterbacks, Josue, because you got a running back if you get him. Nobody else is probably going after him.
All right, Fantasy Football Wizard of Odds has another one here, and then London Reed or Chandler.
Who's Reed?
Jaden.
Jaden, my boy.
Your boy.
I think I'll go with Reed. I'll stay with the hot hand. He's getting the rushes, the end arounds. Jordan Bortles has thrown the ball to him quite often. I do think that London might be okay, but they do want to run more than Green Bay wants to run. And Chandler, just until we know for sure, I know it's against the Bears, which should be a little bit easier, but until we know for sure that he's getting closer to at least the 40% snap share, which he's not there yet. He should be, but he's not. I think we got to go with Jaden Reed.
All right. Thanks. We thank you there, Mr. Fantasy Football Wizard of Odds, for joining us and always asking good questions, bud. All right, Jeremy with one here. Now seeing Henderson wavered, does this up Freeman's value? You liked him before.
I did. I think I had mentioned that Royce Freeman was going to be their pass catching guy. I don't know.
Like Freeman in the past. I want to say I think you had mentioned that on last show.
Yeah, like what? Back when he played for Denver? Yeah. I don't think it ups his value at all. I think it's exactly the same, if not maybe even slightly worse. I think Henderson got cut and Williams is coming back. And if Kyron Williams gets hurt, well, now Freeman has an up in value. So if you're thinking about Jeremy picking up him, and that's why you're wondering if his value is higher, first off, you got to start going with your own gut. But I love that you come and you ask questions. I appreciate it. But does your gut say that Freeman's value is up because Henderson? Do you like Freeman? Because if you like him, then go with it. I think picking up Freeman is smart if you have an open spot. And it only because if Kyren comes back and pulls an Achane, now you've got the only healthy running back on the Los Angeles Rams. But I think his value is exactly the same as it was when Henderson was there, if not slightly worse. Because Kyren Williams doesn't need somebody coming in to spell him. Maybe this game, his first game back, but after this, no. If he stays healthy, he'll play every single down like he did the first however many weeks before he got hurt. For 6 weeks, whatever it was.
All right. Josue with one here. Which two would you start? Javonte Williams, Khalil Herbert, or Warren?
I really like the Warren play, but I do think maybe with, the switch in offensive coordinator, whatever even it really means, because, again, it's going to be the same guy that was calling the plays is still going to be calling the plays, which makes no sense. But it is a switch. They are going to want to juice things up and see what they got going. I think that they're going to try and give Najee some more burn. Try and bring it back to Najee just a little bit. Warren had 3 or 4 really explosive plays last week. Warren was a 5 guy for your eye, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Might not have been. He was somebody that we talked about. And we even had an ABG chat at the beginning of the year where people were talking about workhorse backs. And I think it was Darko and I were like, Jaylen Warren. Najee's not a workhorse back. Jaylen Warren, and a couple people laughed. They're like, no, he's not. Najee's whatever. And like as the season went on, I kept telling people sooner or later Warren's going to take it over. Now he's taking it over. But I think with this switch, we might see bringing back a little more Najee. But
Najee's been playing pretty good too, man.
Right. So I don't think the door's not slammed on him, is what I'm saying. I'm going to play Herbert because it's Monday Night Magic, and it's a second game back, and Freeman is out, more than likely. So I'm going with Herbert.
Foreman.
Khalil Herbert.
No,
I said
Foreman.
Freeman.
Yeah, Foreman.
I got you. And I want to go with Javonte, but I'm probably going to go with Warren. Herbert and Warren. Going against that Browns defense, Herbert and Warren. I think if they're going to beat the Browns, they're going to need to throw.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat with you. Javonte's that Cleveland defense, the way Myles Garrett's playing up the middle, and I just that's tough, man. I would go Warren as well.
Javonte doesn't have the burst yet. He used to. Post-injury, he doesn't have the burst that Jaylen Warren has. Jaylen Warren got to the outside and broke that one long play. I don't think Javonte can do that right now. I don't think he's at 100% yet. So he can't hit the outside and bust one. So what we saw out of Warren last week, we're going to see more of what we saw out of Najee last week, where it's a little bit more inside type running out of Javonte. And I don't know if he's as strong as Najee is. So I'm going with Khalil and with Warren.
All right. Darko says he thinks Kyron's going to go over 100 total yards. He should.
If he stays healthy and does not get hurt, he will. Yes. That's all I'm worried about is a re-injury. That's it.
All right. Going back to the games here. Buffalo Bills at the Philadelphia Eagles. Over under Mr. James Cook, 50.5 rushing yards. Been playing pretty well as far as the rush game, but playing pretty well as far as the pass game. This Philadelphia Eagles, though, they did get run on yesterday. Pacheco. Okay. Hold on real quick. Pacheco, his running, everybody knows, is super. I saw a meme that it was a lizard trying to run on a tiled floor, and his legs were just flying. And it's like, this is what Isaiah Pacheco looks like every time he touches the ball. It's fantastic.
He does.
But James Cook, what do you think?
The Bills just have to commit to him.
I don't get it. Just commit to him. They're ready. They talk about Fournette coming up again. It's like he's on the practice squad. We're gonna bring him up, and why?
Why? Yeah, Jinx.
Yeah.
The same with Latavius. Like, just commit to Cook.
He started last game.
Yeah. He's the best you have. You want to use Cook and Fournette or Latavius and Fournette, you do it on the 1 yard line. You want to bring them in for a play and vulture touchdowns, okay. It makes sense. You're on the 35-yard line and Cook just ran 2 balls for 8 and 9 apiece, and now you're going to bring in Latavius Murray to plod for a couple? Come on. Just stick with him. Let's hope he's smart. You can run on the Eagles. They keep saying you can't, but I keep seeing people run on the Eagles. I'm going over.
All right.
No, Spencer, we did not get to questions. Yeah, we're still going through the ABG 3P. Questions will be soon.
All right, Jalen Hurts, 2.5 total touchdowns, over under. Again, that tush push is there. I wonder if it's going to be banned, man, because I mean, Jalen Hurts is making that play unstoppable.
They really shouldn't ban it.
I agree.
Because if you ban that, you know what they have to ban? When a guy's running down the field and somebody runs up behind him and pushes the pile, like when they're running. If you can't push, then you can't push. So then they're going to start calling penalties in the middle of the field when a guy's running and people come up on behind and try and push it. So you can't have one and not the other. I don't think they should do it. Anybody who thinks they should, I feel like is a whiny baby and maybe just hates the Eagles, but it does not need to be. Stop it. How about that? Stop it. There's other teams that have tried it and they're not as good. Everybody's trying it. I watched teams over these past 2 weeks try to tush push and get stopped. It's just Jalen Hurts is too good. And they're
squats, 600 pounds or something like that?
Yeah, and they're too good at it. Stop it. Get better. Do better. Be better. I'm going to go over. I think this game could be what everybody hoped last night would be.
Good call. Yeah, it was a crappy game. I mean, the weather didn't help the situation at all. But Kansas City can't catch the ball. I don't get it.
That was the big thing, and I forgot to mention that in my answers with guests. But how many drops? How many drops?
Dude, you saw it on Pat Mahomes' face. Like, he's like, I can't I can't do everything. Yeah, sorry, cursing. I can't do everything.
They made me choke.
Sorry. All right, talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders. Yes or no, Mr. Isaiah Pacheco, will they let him have a touchdown? They just always throw within the red zone and within the 5-yard line, I feel like.
Well, after last week and all those drops, maybe they will. So let's say yes. Let's get this man a touchdown. Chalk it up, yes.
All right. Flip side of the ball, Las Vegas Raiders. You were mentioning before, Jacoby Myers, you don't think is going to be having that great of a game. He hasn't really been doing very much lately either, to be honest with you. 39.5 receiving yards, over under.
Yeah, O'Connell just doesn't really look his way. It's a very low number.
I think he's only hit it once in the last 3 weeks or something, 4 weeks.
They're at home. I'd like to say I could see him around 36, but I see him being over, so I'm going to go over.
All right. We were talking about him before also. Baltimore Ravens at the Los Angeles Chargers. Over under Mr. Odell Beckham Jr., if he plays, 12.5 fantasy points, half PPR.
He'd have to get a touchdown. I'm going to go under. I think Bateman's coming on. Zay Flowers was robbed twice last week.
Aguilar even had a touchdown, didn't he?
What was that?
Aguilar even had a touchdown last week, didn't he?
Yep. And Keaton Mitchell's going to run all over this team. Gus Edwards is going to run all over the Chargers. Who even knows? Justice Hill might even, if they give him the ball, but he's third now. Keaton Mitchell's the number 2. So I'm going to go under with Beckham.
All right. Flip side of the ball, Mr. Justin Herbert, 272.5 passing yards against this Baltimore Ravens defense that shows to be legit, man.
Yeah, under. I'm going to go under.
I think that he's going to be treated the same way the Jets kind of treated him. They have potential of winning the game, but I just think that Herbert's not going to be the main reason.
Yeah. I think they're going to have to try to get Eckler more involved.
He just hasn't been doing anything, man.
Nothing. And that's kind of what I thought just going into the year, but we'll see how season 4 winds up here.
All right. Might as well finish off the games. One more left here. Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings, Monday Night Football. We've been talking about him as well. Khalil Herbert, 45.5 rushing yards, over under.
Let's go over. He's the number 1, Foreman out. Roshan will spell him. He can get 45.5. Another game healthier.
And the last but not least, Mr. Ty Chandler, 15.5 total. Dude, you were talking about it. I'm like, he's talking about 40% of the work. I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, I think that's kind of around exactly what 15.5 touches would be.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go under just because I don't think they're ready to completely take it away from Madison. I can see him at 10-14. And that could be viable. If you need a running back, Ty Chandler is viable at that number. I mean, he did very well last week on less. Granted, the fake punt helped, but he's good, man. He's got juice.
All right, let's take some more live comments, and then we'll jump into the questions from the group. Where am I up to? Oh, nope. Yep, Spencer's actually the question from the group. So, all right, perfect.
I'll do it.
Boomski. Let's take this out. All right, let's take that banner off. All right, Jeremy with some questions here. Everyone ahead of me lost this week, so in my league, I still have a shot. I have Henry, Jacobs, Achane, Najee, Herbert, and Henderson. Any way I can upgrade since they seem unreliable, or do you think staying put is okay?
I mean, you got some good Henry, Jacobs, Najee, and Herbert. I think get rid of Henderson, obviously, and pick up something because he's not even on a team. And Achane is probably going to go back to IR. We'll see what happens there. Hold on to him just for now, but drop Henderson, pick up something. Easy.
Michael Wilson Jr. might be somebody to look at. Michael Wilson Jr. That's not right. Jeff Wilson Jr. Sorry. I'm combining two players.
Yeah. You know what? I like KC defense this week out of those two.
Niners defense or Chiefs, you're saying KC defense. Okay. Nothing out there in ABG. Any interesting dart throws? You had mentioned it before. If you want to repeat it.
We gave you a bunch. I mean, the 5 guys for your eyes, right? Michael Carter. I'm not sure if somebody picked them up. Dearness Johnson might be sitting out there. I don't know what you need. Khalil Shakir, I think, is out there. See what you need.
I can't think of anybody. Off the top of my head, those definitely sound like guys out there.
Very shallow league. There's not a lot left.
All right, Tim, with the question here: is Tank Dell a must start the rest of the season?
I think so. I don't see why not. Tim, it depends on what else you have. I hope you're watching. It depends on what else you have. But I've been starting him all year since I picked him up, I think, week 2. He's been in my lineup every week except for week 7 when he had his bye. Or maybe one of the weeks where he was hurt. Yeah, he's a must start. He's I think he's top 5 wide receiver over the past 3 or 4 weeks. So
Sounds right.
that sounds like must start to me.
All right. Anonymous. I was actually going to remind everybody. Remember, you guys can always post anonymous in the group. If you don't have any, teammates or, fellow league mates out there. Chase and Connor for Mixon. Is this a good trade?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I would still want to keep the Chase.
Yeah, you're giving up Chase and Connor. You're getting Mixon. I realize. Listen, whoever's selling you Mixon is selling you high. Mixon had a really good game. He finally had a really good game. Now, I don't love Connor, but I don't want to give up Chase. I don't. I feel like this is a time to buy Chase. You're selling low and you're buying high. This is not a good trade for you.
All right. Next one here. There's an owner. Oh, I think you had mentioned this to Josue already, but there's an owner that needs a quarterback. Would you try to flip Stroud or Fields for a running back? He has Gibbs, Stevenson, Singletary, Elliott, or keep what I have. Stroud's next 2 games are good matchups. Fields has a good playoff schedule. I'm currently in first place.
Josue, the most important part of your comment is the last sentence. You're in first place. Keep what you have. You don't need to make a trade. I remember vividly, well, not vividly, vaguely is the word I'm looking for. There it is. Your running backs, like you got Herbert, he's just coming back. Warren, he's gaining more steam. Javonte. Now, Aaron Jones is an issue. Spears hasn't been doing much. Algier is just there for insurance. So, could you move around maybe Gainwell and pick up like a Ty Chandler or a Michael Carter or maybe somebody even better than those two?
Yeah, you mentioned Jeff Wilson Jr. as he was going after.
Yeah. Is Zach Charbonnet out there? Because Kenneth Walker is hurt, and based on what I'm seeing here, he might be available. And I would actually probably rather have him than Jeff Wilson Jr., especially going into this week.
Agreed.
So I don't think you need to touch anything. I mean, you got Amon-Ra, Tyreek Hill, Olave. You're fine. Your running backs are ton. You know what I would do? I would try and find a Derrick Henry owner and couple together Spears and maybe Gainwell or Spears and something else. Oh.
How do you know? Did you see this?
No.
Another question to go along with this one. Derrick Henry owner also needs a quarterback. So would you trade Stroud for Henry straight up?
No. See, here's the thing. I don't want to get rid of your quarterbacks. I don't want to because I'm imagining what is out there as the guys that Darko's been talking about. Right?
Vito, Browning, Ritter.
Those guys.
DTR.
If something happens again to Fields and you traded away Stroud, you're screwed. Fields has a bye week 13. You're going to trade Stroud. What are you going to do week 13? What are you going to do next week? You got a plan for next week? Because next week, while Fields is on bye, you could have had CJ Stroud. Instead, you're going to have, I don't know what's out there. Probably not much. Keep what you have. Deal some of the junk, the riffraff, the Aaron Jones at this point. Go away from me. Spears. I would trade Spears. See, if the Henry owner needs a QB, he's not going to want another running back on his team. But that's what I was going to say is a couple Spears with Jones or something and trade those two and get a better running back. Or at least someone that's better than Spears, because right now Jones is worthless. So if I do Spears and Jones for somebody, and I don't know who, Pollard, I don't know if they would give up Pollard, but because he's coming off a good week. But somebody who maybe needs a little depth, and you might just get somebody that's better than Spears. That might be a good move. I'm not getting rid of one of your two quarterbacks. You have two potentially top 5 quarterbacks for the rest of the season. Keep them. Keep them. Team's good enough.
All right. I'm going to have to make my screen bigger to be able to do this one.
I
All
can see.
right. Spencer says, I have Ferguson only as the tight end is likely a waiver pickup. Who you dropping? The Browns quarterback. And should I waste my number 4 waiver priority? I'm sorry. I guess that's the next question.
So
So Ferguson's the only one. Dallas Goedert he has on IR.
Dude, if you want to get rid of...
He starts 2 QBs in this, though. I don't know if I'm getting rid of a quarterback that's starting.
I'm getting rid of Leonard Fournette. Get rid of Leonard Fournette. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't want anything. I don't care if he comes back in week 14 and runs for 400 yards and 7 touchdowns. I don't want him. He's dead weight. No. He wasn't even good last year. No. We get rid of him. And you can pick up Likely. I think you're fine with Ferguson, but if you want 2 tight ends, do that. Otherwise, I think Dameon Pierce you could leave. But if you want to pick up Jeff Wilson, I would rather have him than Leonard Fournette.
Agreed.
So maybe that's the move you make. I think you're fine with Ferguson.
He had his bye week too already. Yeah, Ferguson's been playing pretty well, getting the ball.
Yeah. Yep.
Dallas is on, like he said, like you were saying earlier, Dallas is on that incline where everybody thinks they're going to be the champions and all that stuff. I would ride that wave as long as possible.
Because you know what's going to happen here. Here's Dallas Goedert's going to be back week 13. I just have a feeling. They would have put him on bye. I think he's going to be back week 13. He'll have some sort of brace or cast or whatever on his arm. Once it's healed enough, he can play football, and they're going to allow him to. That's why he's not on IR, because they didn't want to hold him out till week 15 because they know he's going to be back probably by week 13. And now you have 2 tight ends. Drop Fournette, pick up Jeff Wilson. I think you're fine. Let somebody else grab Likely. I don't think he'll be a league winner from what we've seen from this year. He was really good last year. We'll see. I like him as a pickup for most people. For you, I think that's the only move I'd make. Swap a running back for a running back. Dead weight for somebody who's going to get burned.
All right, Michael with a couple questions here. Charbonnet or Stevenson?
I think Stevenson is the better and smarter and safer play this week, but I do like Charbonnet, but the matchup just screams Stevenson. But I like both this week, but if I could only play one, I'm playing Stevenson.
All right, Schultz or Ferguson?
At home, Thanksgiving, give me Ferguson. I like both this week as well. So I understand why you're asking the questions. You probably like both as well.
All right. Also, what are your thoughts on OBJ for the rest of the year with Andrews out? Is he a must add? What about Likely?
Yeah, so we've talked about this pretty much ad nauseum, Michael. I'm not sure if you've been watching, but Bateman was a 5 guy for your eye this week. I feel like he's starting to heat up. OBJ is a little banged up, but he's been doing well. I don't know if he's a must add, but he's a definite add. But I like Bateman, and Likely the same thing. He was really good last year when Andrews was out. He was not that good this year when Andrews was out. So hopefully he can at least fall somewhere in between for the rest of the season. He's worth a grab. A must grab if your tight end is Luke Musgrave, because he's probably going to go to IR because he was in the hospital. So I like them all. The catches are going to go somewhere. And this week they're playing against the Chargers, and it's going to be a bonanza for them. And I really like Keaton Mitchell in this week to bust through. And I think that all of these guys, Likely probably as well, will do pretty well against the Chargers. Their defense stinks.
All right. Michael with one here. Has Jaylen Warren overtaken Najee as the lead back in Pittsburgh?
It's
you
like
mentioned this earlier. Yeah, he's
he's I don't know.
That's like the perfect question to what you
yeah.
were saying before. I should have put this on the screen.
I think he was just about there. But I think now with the switch and at least who's called the coordinator, and even though it's the same person calling the plays, which makes no sense, but I think that Najee is going to get a push back towards. I think this is going to wind up a 50-50. So I think he did sort of overtake him. But as Rob said, Najee's been playing okay. He was okay last week as well. And I don't think he's dead at all. What do we do with Josh Jacobs? You play him this week if you got no better options. Tough matchup again. Last week, they kind of had to tank to the air just a little bit to sort of try and keep pace, but they didn't even really need to. And that's the thing, because they were right there with Miami the entire game. But this week against the Chiefs, right? This week is going to be tough. But what do we do? I'm starting him in the only league I own him because he's one of my top 2 running backs. And I'm just going to keep putting him out there. Until last week, you wouldn't have asked this question. Week 10 and week 9, Jacobs was killing it, right?
Yes.
I could look back to double check, but I'm almost positive. Week 9 and week 10, Josh Jacobs did really well. He's had a down week. Go back and look at number 5 from Answers with Guests. I think it was number 5. Roller coaster.
9 and 10, he had a good week.
Yeah, it's just a roller coaster. Strap up. You're going to have some ups. You're going to have some downs. You're putting them in your lineup. I'm fine with them this week against Kansas City.
Look what Swift did. I mean, didn't have the greatest game, but Swift and Jacobs are very similar.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Spencer with another one here. Addison for downs. I get downs. PPR.
You know what? I'd probably do that. I don't think it would benefit you immediately, but when Justin Jefferson gets back, I think it will. I think Justin Jefferson is going to command 8 to 10 targets a game, no matter who they're playing and who's guarding him. And I just think Downs is slowly becoming a little more of Minshew's preferred target than Pittman. So I think I would do that.
I'm an Addison owner, and I would do that right now if I had that ability or if somebody would have offered that to me. All right, guys, remember the merch is always out there. Look at how nice those sweaters look. Fancy.
They're cozy.
All right. All right, I'm going to take this off. Let's go back to our view here. All right, let's get to some of these comments. Where are we at? I think
Spencer.
Yeah, pick up Likely over Logan at tight end.
I'd rather have Likely than Logan Thomas. Yeah, I'd rather take the shot.
All right, Jeremy. KC over picking up Pat's defense against the Giants.
Yeah, because then you got to drop somebody. And I like KC enough this week that I think I would just keep KC. I mean, because while I like Mayer this week, I like Adams this week, I picked Jacoby to go over Rob's prop this week. I think Josh Jacobs will be more than fine this week. I do think KC will be able to force a couple turnovers. I think that KC will be able to get a couple sacks, things like that. So they're going to be a little pissed off coming off of Monday night, and that's always good to pick a defense who something bad happened to him the week before. So I would just stick with KC and just roll with them.
All right. He mentions that Likely pickup would also block an opponent. I think that has to do with dropping Fournette for Jeff Wilson Jr. compared to Likely.
Okay. Do what you think's best, homie.
All right. Darius. Yo, thank God you're still alive. Just an idea. But should I trade Jacobs for King Henry? I got Adams, and I don't like starting 2 players on the same team.
I think I'd rather have Jacobs.
But yeah, I mean, this is usually the time of the year where King Henry comes on, but he just doesn't look like himself this year.
Something seems off. I just
Yeah.
want to look. I want to look just real quick at Tennessee's. So at home against the Panthers, he's probably going to run all over them. At home against the Panthers this week. And against the Colts at home could be a good one. And it gets a little tough. Dolphins, Texans, Seahawks, Texans. I think these next 2 weeks, I think this week especially, I think if you didn't make this trade, Henry's going to go off this week against Carolina. You're going to be like, oh, what the hell? Answered by guess. You told me not to get King Henry, but then I look at the Raiders, and here's what I see next week is a bye.
Big.
So you have nothing if you sit with Jacobs. But then you have the Vikings, the Chargers week 14, which Jacobs is going to run all over them, and they're at home. And then Chiefs and Colts. So you're getting a free week if you make this trade. And I think Henry will do better than Jacobs this week. So while I like Jacobs the rest of the season more than Henry, I think I would make this trade. Because I think it's going to help you this week and obviously next week because Jacobs has a bye. You know what I mean? So, and I think they're close enough the rest of the weeks that I think it sort of outweighs. I think that the bye week, getting that free week in there could help you. And I don't know when your trades end, but if Henry does do what I think and runs all over Carolina this week, I know they're a little easier to pass against, but you could run all over them. Trade him. Trade him after that. Trade him when he's super high. Maybe he has a 100-yard, 3-touchdown game. Trade him and get a ransom. Join us next week. Let's see what happens.
I like it. All right, Spencer. I want Downs. The player in my league wants Likely because lost Andrews, but I have waiver before her, so I could get a player I want. I'm not really sure what that means, bud.
Sure. Somebody wants Downs. Somebody wants Likely.
Oh, so you want to pick up Likely to be able to trade for Downs? Is that what it is?
So you're going to pick up Likely so that you could trade for Downs. That's fine. No matter what, you still need to get rid of Fournette.
Addison, I think. Yeah, Fournette needs to be off your team. I have Fournette in Dynasty, and I'm getting close to dropping him. So,
Yep. I'm with you.
So, yeah, somebody said pick up Likely and trade for Downs. All right, so sorry. I don't know. It's almost 2 hours in. My brain is starting to fantasize me out. Dark Cloud's a white one, dude. Can you make that happen?
I can, but we've got to run the random. It's going to be the last thing we do after we get through your comment and Charlie's. Maybe you win one. And if you win one, then we can make it a white one.
All right. Charlie here. I pulled off the Murray Brown trade for Javonte Williams and Atwell. Got to keep Olave, thankfully. Awesome. Good trade, bud. I think that's the one you helped him with the last time. What's your thoughts on Saquon? Is it time to capitalize on a big game and trade or ride the wave?
I think he's good to have for RB depth. This is the time of the year where you're going to need it more than you ever have, especially since you just got rid of Javonte, right?
No, I think he got Javonte and Atwell. I pulled off the Murray Brown trade for Javonte Williams and Atwell.
Well, if you traded away Javonte, then you got to keep Saquon. If you just got Javonte, then maybe we could see what we could do with Saquon. Either way, Charlie, I'm going to hold on to Saquon. He just received Javonte. Okay, good. So who's your quarterback? So you're hoping Atwell steps up with no Cup. is what we're doing here.
And it could happen. That's what I mean. It happened when he was out the first time. So
yep. And he kept
I think I would still keep Saquon, and Tommy Cutlets is gonna play out better. But
we'll see. He's going against Washington.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll see. I think you got to keep him. It depends on what you're getting. You still need to get a running back. If you're trading Saquon, you really can't trade. You kept Olave. You got Atwell. You don't need another wide receiver. If you're getting rid of Saquon, you got to get some sort of running back that's going to be able to give you some depth. So I would keep him, but work it out.
One thing that you mentioned for Jacobs and Henry trade, remember, Saquon hasn't had his bye. Saquon's bye is next week, if I'm not mistaken.
13.
So that might be something to think about too.
Yeah, so if you're going to get rid of him, he's got James Cook and Javonte. Like, that's it. So you really can't.
You got to keep the depth.
If you're trading Saquon, can you get 2 running backs for Saquon? 2 running backs whose buys have passed. Can you get Zach Charbonnet and Khalil Herbert? Can you get Zach Charbonnet and, heck, even Rachaad White for Saquon? If you can get those 2 guys, one guy on the come up in Charbonnet, I don't know, he might even be on waivers in this league. Who knows? And then if you can get somebody who's the starter and gets burned, get 2. Yeah.
Yeah, so I forgot that James Cook also has the 13 bye. So, yeah, it sounds like you have to trade one of those guys. James Cook would probably be the less favorable, and you probably would get less for that compared to what Saquon just did. Definitely post something in the group. If you do get something, take a look. We could always look at both rosters if you need
Trade Saquon and get 2. You need to get 2 for him, man.
All right. And Spencer says he is sleep drunk. Oh, that sounds
I'd like
great.
To get drunk.
Yes. All right. You want to do the random, you said?
Yeah, let's see. I'm going to try and do this. Present.
Well, let me just take his comment off.
How do I do it? How do I get a tab up in
you
this
hit
BI?
present, share screen.
Okay.
Then there's going to be 3 options on top. It's like screen, program, tab.
See, I can't. All right, people are going to have to take my word for it. All right. I got all the listed here because I opened this in Firefox instead of Chrome. So I can't because all it says is window or screen. Like I could do this.
Can you do a screenshot after the random and post it?
I can.
Why don't we do that?
Yeah, I can do
I mean, don't get me wrong. We trust you. But
because if I do this, I think this is what's going to happen. Let's see. Let's see. Does it pop? Oh, my God. It's like a million things. Can you see it right now? Can you see it?
I can.
You can see it. All right. I got all the names here. I'm going to spin it. You ready? One spin.
Go
for it.
One
spin. Just like Dave Portnoy. One bite. Everybody knows
the rules. There it is.
One spin. Let's see who does it. Who gets it? Who gets it? Cintron.
Dave Cintron with the win. Nice.
Dave Cintron is the winner. Congratulations.
Awesome.
You have won an Answers by Guess t-shirt. You can choose black or gray. Please let us know your size that you need. And we will get that to you. Dave Cintron, you are the winner. If anybody else would like to purchase one, $45 shipped. It's about $35 for the hoodie, $10 to ship, and $25 for the tee. That's $15 plus $10 for shipping. Can't beat that.
I agree with you, bud. I think we've answered all the questions from the group. I think we took all the live questions. Do we want to talk about Thanksgiving at all?
Well, we could just I feel like we've done a few things before about where we talk about our favorite sides, and I guess we could say maybe a favorite pie. How about a favorite pie this year? Let's think about what is your. I don't know who's watching. Since we got 4 people, maybe there's a couple more that are on YouTube. But what's your favorite pie? Your favorite Thanksgiving pie? Absolute favorite.
For me, I'm an old classic kind of guy, man. Apple pie is my favorite by far. You warm it up, put some vanilla ice cream on there, a la mode. I like to add some walnuts or some type of pecans or even some cashews on top for a little bit of a crunch. What about you?
Well, I also love an apple pie. There is this pie that is made at this farm down the road from my house, Tantillos. It's
I know that. I've
actually
heard of
like
that.
right in between like me and where your parents are.
Oh, yeah.
And they make this pie. It's called a 5-star pie. Now, apple pie, and pumpkin pie. Like I've always loved those. Pumpkin. I could eat a whole pumpkin pie. Like literally, I could just sit there and eat the whole thing. Like those are great. But this pie, it's called a 5-star, and it's raspberry, strawberry, blueberry, blackberry, and rhubarb.
Wow.
And it's
that sounds
all
amazing.
inside, and you buy it from them, and it's frozen because
That
they,
sounds
they
very
make them and then they freeze them. You could get a fresh one, but I don't mind the frozen. You take it home. You thaw it if you buy the frozen. You get the fresh. You bake it in your own oven. When you take that bad boy out and you cut a slice and you do it a la mode like your style,
Do you see the drool
my
coming
man,
down or no?
it's all those berries with the ice cream. It's absolutely incredible. So apple pie, pumpkin pie, those are traditional favorites. But once I had this pie when we moved in 10 years ago, that has become my favorite. No matter where we go on Thanksgiving, I have to buy one and bring it. And that is what I did today. I bought one and I'm bringing it. We're going to Syracuse to my parents' house
Oh, nice.
for Thanksgiving this year. So I'm bringing a 5-star pie. And my parents are in love with it too, because every year I bring it there. And they're like, you got to bring one. You got to bring a 5-star pie. I'm
Nice.
like, all right, bring it. 5-star Tantillos.
All right. Hey, Charlie, we appreciate you, bud. Josue Pecan. That's, you know what's funny? I like to add pecans onto things, but I don't think I've ever had pecan pie. Man, I might have to try pecan pie.
It is good. It is good.
Charlie, apple pie all the way with some vanilla ice cream. Me and you were in the same boat, bud.
It's classic.
It is. You know what's funny? You know what's another one that I really like? Blueberry pie. I don't know what. So what you were describing your 5-star, that's like right up my alley because it sounds like it would be very similar to what a blueberry pie would be.
It's sour. It's sweet.
Yeah.
It's crispy. It's hot.
You know what's weird though? I don't like blueberry pie though with vanilla ice cream. I prefer it with whipped cream.
Sure. Okay. I'm with you.
Darko says, get some pecan pie for Thanksgiving. I'm going to have to try it. I'm going to have to try it.
It is good. It is good.
They're
not wrong.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Thank you for being a part of the Answers by Guest family. We'll be relatively available, but not really. I'll be traveling most of the day tomorrow. Thursday, you know how it is. I'm not really going to be looking at my phone to answer questions. I'm sorry. But if I do and you post in the page, I will do what I do. And Rob as well. But we're going to be busy. And Friday I'll be traveling. Rob, who knows? He'll probably be working or doing something. Watching the Jets.
I'm actually off. I'm watching the Jets, but I do have family staying over tomorrow. And just to give you guys a heads up, I'm actually going to be at the Thanksgiving parade on Thursday in New York City. So nice. I'm going to probably be no phone besides taking pictures. So,
well, you didn't do it week 1 when I told you to.
What'd I do?
Hold up an Answers by Guest sign. Now you're going to be at the Macy's Day Parade. I want to be looking for that Answers by Guest sign in the crowd while I'm watching. I know it won't happen, but
I will try. How
about dream?
Listen, they don't allow the signs at MetLife Stadium,
but they allow them on Broadway.
Oh no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The city's a different situation. I can just start walking around and be like, you're like, oh, dude, I wish I had the sweater. Damn, I could have wore that.
Yeah.
Son of a building block. It's Woody.
I'm telling you, I get asked so many questions like, what's that? I'm like, well, that's our podcast. That's our vodcast. Fantasy football, They're like, oh, you do that? I'm like, yeah, 7 years. Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, check it out.
Oh, yeah.
So,
all right, Charlie, with the last one here. Enjoy family time, safe travels, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
You too.
Same to you, bud. Enjoy, man. I hope you get some apple pie a la mode.
All right, guys.
Enjoy. Happy Thanksgiving. Peace.
Peace. Good luck.